Are you ready to get your health back but feel overwhelmed by the endless healthcare options? We believe God has called each of us to a specific assignment, and we want to make sure your body, mind, and heart are up for the task. It's time to simplify the process of healing. At Cornerstone Integrative Healing, we offer simple, effective, easy ways to prioritize your health and gain understanding. No prescription pad needed. I'm Kari, a pharmacist turned integrative health practitioner. I'm so excited to have these conversations around topics with my friend, Jenn.
Hi there, I'm Jenn, and together with our team at Cornerstone Integrative Healing, we offer an alternative to traditional healthcare, combining our expertise and experience in the medical field with our knowledge and faith to break the cycles of guessing what's wrong. We know the road to healing, feeling good again, can be overwhelming. You can expect honest conversations around the ups and downs of healing. The truth is, there are so many layers to healing. Because we've taken the time to learn where true healing comes from, we've learned how to help other women discover a different way of caring for themselves. Join us every week for new episodes as we discuss topics that are personal and pertinent to your healing journey. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Jennifer here with my co-host, Kari. And we're here today to talk about B vitamins, which we wanted to do a whole episode on this because, we often see women taking, of course, lots of supplements when they come to see us. And usually one of those includes B vitamins. And I know we've talked about, we try to stick to whole food vitamins. I know we've talked about that in the past, but this is one vitamin where I feel like, well, they're all important not to be synthetic, but this is especially important for women because of, some of the dangers, in my opinion, from the synthetic B vitamins when women are already overwhelmed and anxious and their stress response is, not working the way that it should be. And so we kind of wanted to take a whole episode to really talk about the difference between the synthetic B vitamins, what's missing in the synthetic B vitamins versus the whole foods, and really what B vitamins do, because honestly, it's something that probably 99.9% of women, men, and probably children are deficient in because of our diet. So, most of the Americans, I would say, eat the standard American diet. And so they eat white bread and pasta, which most of those grains have been refined. So they take out the germ, right? So the germ is kind of what makes those grains perishable, right? The grain goes rancid, and that's kind of why we can't let that grain sit on the shelf, right? Unfortunately, the germ is where the majority of the nutrition is in the wheat germ. And so, we all think of wheat as being bad now because of the gluten, and of course it's sprayed heavily with glyphosates. And so, but one of the other things about wheat, if you're eating mainstream meat, is that it's actually sprayed with synthetic B vitamins. So they refine the grain, take out the germ and all the good stuff, and then they spray back a couple B vitamins. And they call it enriched. So it's like if I would take $20 from Kari and give her back 5. And Kari, do you feel enriched?
No, I feel like you stole something.
Right. And so those synthetically sprayed vitamins that are are sprayed into grains really can create a lot of havoc, especially the synthetic folic acid and other things. So the other thing is the sugar. Our high consumption of sugar will quickly deplete B vitamins. So unfortunately, obviously, 100 years ago, we didn't eat the amount of sugar that we did. Believe it or not, higher sugar foods, like in nature, are packed with natural B vitamins to help you process and convert the glucose. ironic, isn't it? No, it's the beauty of nature. Um, and so when we, of course, eat refined foods, we're not getting those B vitamins, which is a problem. And then stress. We very quickly deplete B vitamins, which are water soluble. B vitamins are one of the water soluble vitamins, so we need to take them regularly. And they're being diminished very quickly due to stress. So, there's one other thing that I forgot to mention that I want to mention, and that is, which it doesn't really relate to B vitamins, but it's super important. So when they bleach wheat, that's how they kill the germ. It creates a chemical, and this chemical actually destroys beta cells in the pancreas, right? So when it was called the Department of Chemistry, the FDA back in the day, and basically, they wanted, of course, better convenience and availability of a lot of these foods. And so they would bleach them so they could sit on the shelf. And there was a scientist that basically said, like, look, like you're going to have epidemic rates of heart disease and diabetes if you keep bleaching flour. Well, here we are 80 years later. And guess what? We're not getting the germ, which feeds the heart, and we're damaging our beta cells in our pancreas. And we have epidemic rates of heart disease and diabetes. So, eating whole foods is, and not only obviously filled more nutrient rich, but there's actually dangers to eating processed food, like literally. And we can see that now with, obviously the heart disease and diabetes rates. So anyway, getting off course, back to the B vitamins. So what do B vitamins do? So B vitamins obviously is a complex group of many B vitamins, of course, which we've heard of, right? Most of us have heard of B12, B6, B1. But there's another B vitamin called B4, which can't be synthesized. And the B4 is one of the most important components of B vitamins. And that's because it promotes the nerve conductivity and the rhythm of the heart. So without natural whole food B vitamins, what happens is we miss that B4, which can't be synthesized, okay? And so B4 takes physical energy that we eat, the chemical energy that we eat, and converts it so that our heart can beat regularly into electrical energy, basically, for the heart, right? And so now we see that we have so many issues with AFib, arrhythms, bundle branch block. And that's because we're not eating whole grains that aren't bleached. Wheat germ is one of the main sources of B4, but it's also in rice bran, which we really don't see that anymore. Beef liver, not many people eat that, although I feel like glandulars are coming back and there is awareness in this space about how important those glandulars are. So, that nerve effectiveness or nerve conductivity that is supported with that B4, you're not getting in your synthetics, right? Also, most of your B vitamins are actually coming from, or it's a byproduct of coal tar production. I am not kidding. You can look this up. So your B1, which everybody's like, I need B1, right? A lot of those synthetics are coming from that industry, which is really scary. But the other thing is those synthetic B vitamins are very stimulating to the system, right? You feel better when you take them because they are artificially stimulating those adrenal glands, which when you stop taking them becomes a problem because it's just like taking a stimulant, like drinking an energy drink, right? You feel good when you take it, but after the crash and the effect that it has on the system is very detrimental. It's the same thing with synthetic B vitamins. You absolutely 100% want your B vitamins from food. And so, there's lots of great things like nutritional yeast and make sure that it's not enriched or has the synthetic B vitamins. Sari Foods has a great nutritional yeast that you can use. Bee pollen is another great source of B vitamins if you don't want to take a supplement. So those are two foods besides liver, obviously, adding liver to your ground beef, or taking a beef liver supplement, it's a really good source of the B vitamins. We use a lot of the Cataplex B from Standard Process. They also have a gluten-free because it's it's a lot of those whole foods that are really high in the B vitamins, like rice bran, nutritional yeast, liver. So that's mainly the component of the product. So it's really dense, and it contains the B4, which is super important. So if you have arrhythm, if you have regurgitation, you've been told you have regurgitation, what happens when you're not getting that B4 is that heart actually enlarges, right? Because it's a muscle, right? And it doesn't, B vitamins give that muscle, whether it's in our GI tract or heart, tonicity, right? That's one of the main function of B vitamins is tonicity from that nerve intervention and conductivity. Mm-hmm. And so when we don't have that, the heart enlarges, right? It's a muscle and enlarges. Unfortunately, the valves don't do the same thing. They can't enlarge. So what happens is you have a valve, right? They kind of overlap or come together. When the heart enlarges, what happens is those valves now don't meet completely, and you have blood that kind of backflows, and that's what the regurgitation is. And we have seen this over and over again, where whole food vitamins can help correct a regurgitation very easily. And so, and one of the main symptoms of partial B vitamin deficiency is actually constipation, because that gut doesn't have the tone, right? Yeah. And so if you struggle with constipation, that's something that you can really look to be, one of your first go-tos, as well as B vitamins. Another thing that could lead to constipation is low HCl in the stomach. And one of the main components you need to produce hydrochloric acid in the stomach is B vitamins. So B vitamins are by far, they should really put them in the water supply. They should take out all the fluoride, put in B vitamins.
If only.
Yeah, right. But if you tend to get sore after working out from a buildup of the lactic acid, that's another thing that natural B vitamins will do, is it helps to divert that lactic acid and the Krebs cycle to pyruvic acid, so you don't get that buildup of lactic acid. And so if you're really sore after workouts, you probably need more B vitamins, or fatigue, because B vitamins help convert carbohydrates to glucose. That's another thing that you probably need to focus on, is whole food B vitamins. And then lastly, so a lot of questions around synthetics and whole foods are, they look at a label and they say, okay, well, this is a whole food, but you'll see that they have high doses of B1 or B2, or it says vitamin B1 and then it says thiamine monohydrate. That's a synthetic that they'd probably added some food to and called it, whole food. So you want to make sure that there's a proprietary blend of foods in your B vitamins. And if it lists the B vitamins and then it says you're taking a synthetic. So any questions that you might have, about labels or how to read the labels or where you can get whole food sources. Again, we talked about the nutritional yeast and the bee pollen. Those are great sources that you can get on a daily basis. I always made a cheesy with the nutritional yeast. I used to put the nutritional yeast in my magic bullet. The kids used to love this, with some just salt and walnuts and blend it up.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it tasted like a cheesy, we'd sprinkle it over veggies. And it was really easy to incorporate in the diet. You can add the bee pollen to your smoothies. So there are ways, obviously, if you're eating your beef liver, or taking your beef liver supplements, there really are easy ways to get whole food B vitamins. And then, sourdoughs, there's a big craze now with the sourdough. Make sure that you're using, something that's not bleached. And that is a whole food flour. I know some people, will even grind their own grain. That would be the best, because that germ is super fresh, right? So those are definitely good whole food sources.
What about methylated B vitamins? That's kind of like all the craze now.
It is the craze, isn't it? So If you do have an MTHR, it's called MTHFR mutation. So those are specific. You've had a genetic test and they looked at certain genes. I think it's 677 and 1298 are the specific genes. If you're, heterozygous in those, meaning there is a mutation, you can have some problems methylating B vitamins. And so whole food B vitamins are naturally methylated. So again, it becomes even more important that you're using whole food because you cannot process the synthetic folic acid. And so if you do have those genetic mutations, I would highly encourage you to use a whole food B vitamin even more because the synthetic folic acid can build up if it's not processed correctly.
Gotcha. I was just thinking as you were talking about the foods and how, it's just one more thing that has really fallen to convenience and just, I guess, dollars too, right?
Absolutely.
If you're listening and thinking, well, gosh, I need to go out and try to find better processed foods, we would encourage you to think about how you can eat more whole foods rather than trying to figure out how you're going to eat, better processed foods. Not that there aren't better options out there, but they're still processed. So
Yes.
just eat real food. I know that sounds like you've heard that before, but have you really thought about how many processed foods you eat? I think I've been challenged recently, to it was when the episode hasn't come out yet, but we talked to Brittany, who was a dietitian, and she, was just talking about how important fiber is. And so I've really been thinking about whole food fiber and getting that in every day. And it's just made me think about how often do I turn to, okay, well, I could eat a cracker with this, or I could eat a carrot, I mean, it's just true.
Right.
So
no, I get it. No, I'm 100% guilty too. I love my gluten-free pretzels, those really thin pretzels. I love those things.
They're tasty.
Right.
But
they
they're
are
not the best
processed.
option.
Right. No fiber. Right. Definitely not the best option. And I wanted to mention that, when you are eating whole foods, you're eating other vitamins together. Like B vitamins don't work by themselves, right?
Yes.
You need vitamin C. Vitamins work in conjunction with each other, right? And that's also the downfall of synthetics, right? They think, okay, well, they're going to take what we think are the most important vitamins and put those together. Well, if you look at, for instance, look at the component of a carrot or the nutritional component of rice bran. It's super complex, and there's other vitamins in there. Again, to make those, everything works together. And so, whole foods are, the complexity, just like our each individual, we're super complex. So are the foods, and you cannot reproduce them in the same way.
And you might need a supplement of a whole food B for a little bit, but try to get it more from your diet and try to think about ways that you can really get more of these foods in, and just more whole foods is going to serve you in so many different ways, not even just the B vitamin conversation. So, anyway,
but if you're taking synthetic B vitamins, I cannot encourage you enough. Look at your labels.
Yeah.
It really is something to think about and switch to a whole food B vitamin.
So we'll link those things that Jenn mentioned to make sure that you have access to those. And like she said, if you have any questions at all, you can reach out to us at our email, hello@cornerstoneintegrativehealing.com, and or Instagram. We check those messages all the time. So let us know if we can help you with this conversation. And we know it's confusing. They really do try to, I guess, change the wording so that you don't really maybe this is what Jenn said, So they're tricky. They really are. So let us know if we can help you with this. We'll see you on the next episode.
If this episode has served you in any way, drop a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd love it if you share any aha moments or takeaways on Instagram and tag us at Cornerstone Integrative Healing.
And if you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do so. We want to continue to walk this journey with you. Until next time, friends, know that we are praying for you.